The series begins in a town called Queens. Auntie May wakes Peter up from sleep, telling him he's supposed to be awake 15 minutes ago. Peter checks his phone and realizes he's really late for school. Quickly, he finishes up his morning routine, and as he hurries out of the house, Auntie May gives him a meal to take along and he hugs her, calling her the best aunt in the world. Peter bumps into a lot of people on the road just to catch up with a moving train, but he misses it. Just as he gives up, Auntie May stops by with her car and decided to take Peter to school herself, even though she's going to be late for work. Peter tells Auntie May that he is so excited on getting admitted into the school in this town. All he has dreamed of for years was getting approved into Midtown College, because their robotic program is the best in the country. May isn't impressed because she's more interested in him learning in school, instead of playing with robots, but Peter feels this school is going to be a better way to distract himself from everything else that has been going on. Just as Auntie May finally drives him to school, Peter thanks Auntie May for everything. Things has been different ever since Uncle Ben died, but she has always been there for him, and has always had his back. Auntie May is so touched by his words, and hugs him saying she's so lucky to have him too. Just as Peter convinces himself not to be nervous because it's his first day at a school full of geniuses, a strange portal suddenly opens from the sky, and an alien-looking creature comes out from it. The monster tries to hurt a student, but Dr. Strange shows up to hold off the creature. Dr. Strange realizes that he's in a high school compound, and was like, they are not supposed to be here. While Peter and Auntie May watches the fight from afar, we see a black strange spider emerging from the portal. During the fight, the monster throws a school bus at Dr. Strange, but thanks to his magic, he dodged it, and then tries to use the time stone to reverse the bus from heading towards the school building, but the monster stops him. The monster tries to hurt a girl who fell down from escaping, but Peter, who couldn't stand and watch, diverted the monster's attention to him. The monster tries to hurt him, but Dr. Strange uses the chance to tie down the monster with his magic, and takes it back into the portal. Peter goes to check on the girl to ask if she's okay, and upon doing that spider we see coming out from the portal earlier drops on his neck. The whole school is in a total mess, which means they won't be getting assigned to any class soon, due to the destroyed building. The girl introduces herself to Peter as Nico, and she's also a new student at this school. Just as they converse, Peter suddenly screams from a strange bite on his neck. He falls on the floor unconscious, making Nico and Auntie May so worried. Few months later, after the whole incident, Peter is feeling so much alive and stronger than ever. As usual, he misses the train that is supposed to take him to school, but this time, he has a plan B. He opens his bag, revealing a Spiderman suit, and suits up on a building top. He launches himself to the sky, and uses his spider web to catapult himself from one building to the other. While he heads to school, he sees a boy calling for help as he is being chased down by some thugs. The thugs wants his money, and while the guy runs, he almost gets hit by a truck, but Spiderman saves him. The thugs livestream Spiderman to announce their next victim to their followers. While the livestream was still on, Spiderman beats down the thugs in humiliating ways, as their followers watches. He ties down the thugs and takes the phone they are using to livestream to introduce himself to the followers as Spiderman, and tells the followers not to like and subscribe. The guy Spiderman rescued introduces himself as Harry, and as he asks how he can return the gratitude for saving his life twice, he replied that he shouldn't worry about it, but instead consider it as a good deed from the friendly neighborhood Spiderman. Peter arrives at class really late. He sneaks in, hoping the teacher wouldn't notice, but she did, and is being told to see her after class, leading to all the students to laugh at him. Nico tells him that if he keeps up with his lateness, this will really affect his performance in school. He bumps into his childhood crush called Pearl, but she acts really kind to him. Peter is really embarrassed about everything. Pearl is not just his crush, but she was also his babysitter. Peter tells Nico that he really likes her, but feels she's always going to see him as a child because she babysitted him. Nico advises that Pearl is never going to know about his feelings unless he tells her, and he should do that soon because a girl as beautiful as Pearl isn't going to be in the market forever. While Peter attends his next class, through the window, he sees some cops chasing down a robber. He quickly takes permission from the teacher to go to the restroom, and changes into Spiderman to chase down the robbers. He tries to use his web to stop their vehicle, but ended up only removing their license plate number. Luckily his web is able to knock the driver unconscious, and he is able to stop the bus with his super strength. A huge crowd gathered around the bus to cheer him, and as well take pictures. Peter suddenly gains the confidence he needs because if he can stop a moving truck, then he can ask out a girl of his dreams. Just as Peter tries to approach Pearl to finally ask her out, Nico stops him and shows him that someone already did. Peter is really upset about it, and for over a week, he has been complaining about it. Pearl's new boyfriend name is called Lincoln. Peter asked Nino that beside Lincoln being the captain of the football team, what does he have that he doesn't have? Nico blames it on him taking too long to ask Pearl out. Mr. Taylor, their science school teacher, suddenly enters the class, and announces that he will be splitting the class into pairs for some upcoming projects. Normally the teacher is supposed to assign them partners himself, but he decided to let the students choose their own partners. Peter is so happy hearing this, because this will be his chance to ask Pearl to be his lab partner. If Pearl agrees, he will use that opportunity to show her that he is not just some child, but to Peter's disappointment, Pearl boyfriend Lincoln asked the teacher to work with Peter. Peter realizes the guy is not actually what he assumed him to be. Lincoln is not just very intelligent, but he's also really kind. He tells Peter how Pearl talks about him a lot because he is as well smart. After the class for the day, we get to realize that there is a lot about Lincoln we don't know about. The poor guy is just living a lonely life. He also lives in the poorest and dirtiest area in the city, and every police have eyes on him, because he's black. Lincoln arrives home and reunites with his family. His dad tells him to help his little brother with homework after taking out the trash. On the other hand, Peter returns a stolen money to a pizza shop owner, and while the thief is captured, she apologizes for doing what she did because she lost her job. The pizza guy felt pity for her, and tells Spiderman to let her go, but he begs the woman not to make him regret this. The man gives Peter a free pizza pack in appreciation, and on his way back home, Peter also sees almost new DVD player on a trash can and takes it, calling today his best day ever. Peter sees a luxurious car parked outside his apartment and takes a picture with it. After he enters his room and greets Annie Mae, he sees a well-dressed man talking to her, and realizes he's the owner of the luxurious car. The man greets Peter and introduces himself as Norman Osborn. But Peter reveals to have heard of him because he's one of the most famous guys in NYC. Norman Osborn tells Peter that he is here because he is really impressed with his high academic results, and wants someone as brilliant as him to work with him at Oscorp. Peter is so excited after realizing that Norman is offering him a job, where he gets to work at a real lab, doing real science with real scientists. Auntie May asks if it wouldn't interfere with his regular schooling, and Osborn replies that it is strictly extracurricular. Osborn leaves informing that work begins tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and also tells him to head straight into his office so he will give him a proper welcome. Just as Peter resumes school the next day, Lincoln shows up and introduces Peter to his football team and also gives him their trophy to rub. He invites Peter for a football match this evening, which Peter promises to come. While he watches the football match, Nico tells Peter that it's gross working for Norman Osborn, because no one gets as scary rich as that guy without doing some shady stuffs along the way. Peter doesn't feel the same way, because Osborn seemed like a really nice guy to him. But even if she's right, turning down the offer means turning down his chance to get his hands on some really cool techs. Pearl interrupts their conversation and congratulates Peter on getting a job at Oscorp. He realizes that it's time for his first day at work at Oscorp, and hurries there. Peter is shocked when he is told is late because he arrived 2 minutes before the time. The security tells him he's supposed to be here about 15 minutes ago, so he can take his ID photo. After taking his ID photo, he is told to head straight to Lab 17. When he arrives there, he meets some interns like him who introduces themselves. Firstly is Asha, she is from Wakanda. Next is Amadeus, who is from the Lower East Side. Next is Jean, who is from the Long Island, and finally is an Asian guy called Cho. Dr. Whitman enters the lab, and tells the interns including Peter that he will be the one overseeing them. During the talk, Peter interrupts saying Osborn told him to come directly to his office, but he gets ignored. In order to see how they all measure up in a real laboratory environment, Dr. Whitman decided to give all the interns different kinds of tests. Peter is asked to look at the microscope. Whitman tells them that how they perform in these basic functions will determine what division of Oscorp their intellect will be best applied to. After the tests, all the interns are given each duty they best fit in Oscorp. Peter is being introduced to Dr. Connors, who is currently working with Oscorp Energy Research Division. Peter will be joining their division, which seems like fun to him, because their work will be focused on creating a new self-sustaining battery of all sorts, just like Iron Man arc reactor. Nico calls him while he is working, and lets him know that Lincoln team won the football match. She tells him that they are both invited for Lincoln party, and doesn't want to go to the party while he is stuck at work. He promises that he is about to wrap up just after his last review, and tells her to text him the address for the party. While he sits with his fellow interns to wait for their review, they watch TV where a news about a fire incident appears on screen. Peter quickly changes to Spider-Man and arrives at the building. We see a guy called Butane who is revealed to be the cause of the burning building. Spider-Man confronts the guy and they both engage in an epic fight. He uses a fire extinguisher to cover his face, and sends him flying to the next building with a kick. He knocks out the fire guy with a punch. Meanwhile, at the Oscorp lab, Dr. Whitman is angry that Peter is nowhere to be found, and blames Dr. Connors because she is responsible for him. When Peter arrives, he yells at him, saying this place isn't a summer camp where he can just walk around. The security suddenly shows up at the lab, and tells Peter that Norman Osborn wants to have a word with him. At Lincoln Party, Nico is kinda lonely there, and is really disappointed that Peter hasn't showed up. When Peter showed up at Norman's office, he is really shocked when Osborn realizes that Peter is Spider-Man through the building camera, and that was how the episode ended. Thank you for watching, guys. If you don't want to miss out on the next episode, please subscribe and keep watching. Bye.